This is tape number ET51 from the library of the Howard Thurman Educational Trust. Two meditations by Howard Thurman. This is side 1, entitled Prayers.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. This is my final broadcast for the academic year. During the summer, there will be guest persons who will take this 15-minute period. I expect to return in September. I wish to express my personal appreciation to all of the many listeners who have telephoned or written to express their appreciation for this period. Today I'm reading two prayers as the heart of what I wish to do for this time. Our Father, we have turned aside from the paths, the duties, and the responsibilities which involve us from time to time to feel ourselves into thy presence with as much confidence and faith as we can muster. It is our simple trust that before thee, in the great quietness of this waiting moment, we may find the measure of deep and central peace without which the enterprises of our private life cannot be fulfilled. We spread before thee all the meaning that we have been able to garner out of the days of our living. We see as if by a flash of blinding light the meaning of some things which we have done since last we were in thy presence. The hasty word, the careless utterance, the deliberate act by which another was injured or confused, the decision to do what even at the time of the decision we knew was neither the right thing nor the thing which we were willing to back with our lives. All of these things push their way to the center of our thought that we may be exercised in sincerity, uttering before thee what is honest and clear. Sitting in the midst of so much within us that is not good even by our paltry standards, there begins to stir as a great burning in our depths the vast urgency for forgiveness. Forgiveness for the sin, forgiveness for the wrong act, forgiveness for the bad deed. We do not know altogether what it is that we need beyond this. We see our lives, the goals which we have set for ourselves. The goals, these dreams, are weighted and held in tender balance before thy scrutiny and thy caring. We see them now in a new light and a fresh way. We trust that somehow, as we move into the tasks that await us, the radiance which we sense now will cast a long glow to guide us in tomorrow's darkness. We are mindful of needs beyond our little world and its demands. Some needs close at hand have not been able to get beyond the outer gate of our vital concern. We have dealt with them casually out of the richness of our own sense of surplus. There are those other needs at which we have not dared to look because we fear what our response to them would make us do or make us become. They might upset all the careful plans of our days, and the goals upon which we have set our spirits may be thrown out of focus or cast aside. O God, we cannot look into the depths of sudden anguish and find our way into our own happiness and peace again. This seems too costly for us, and we are afraid. And yet, as we are stilled before Thee, these needs move before us. We hear the cry and the anguish of the destitute, of the hungry, of the hopeless, the despairing, and we cannot be deaf. But often we do not know what to do. We do not know how to give and not destroy ourselves. Gentle Father, deal with our disorder with redemptive tenderness, so that we, as we live today and tomorrow, may not be shamed by Thy grace that has made our lives move in such tranquil places. These are all the words we have. Take them, our Father, and permit them to say to Thee the content of our hearts and our spirit. And the other is one of the great prayers of all religious literature, and it is found in the book of Psalms. Lord, Thou hast searched me and known me. Thou knowest my down sitting and mine uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. Thou compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, Thou knowest it altogether. Thou hast beset me behind and before, and laid Thine hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain unto it. Whither shall I go from Thy Spirit? Or whither shall I flee from Thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, Thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and fly to the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand hold me, and thy right hand shall steady me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. The darkness hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee. For thou hast possessed my reins. Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. In thy book all my members are written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious are thy thoughts unto me, O God. How great is the sum of them. If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with thee. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. I will fly in the greatness of God as the marsh hen flies, filling all the space twixt the marsh and the skies, by so many roots as the marsh grass sends in the sod. Behold, I will lay me a hold on the greatness of God. Amen. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
This is tape number ET51. from the library of the Howard Thurman Educational Trust. This is Side 2, entitled Relatedness of All Life.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. I'm very happy to be back after an absence of 6 weeks, and I want to express my personal appreciation to those men who have served on Fridays during my absence, and also a word of appreciation to those of you who have written in and or telephoned to express your own concern and good wishes. I pick up the threads of our interpretation of the 139th Psalm. When I awake, I am still with thee. In all the waking hours, the tentacles of time give channel to each living thing. The bird on wing, the mole moving in darkness underground, the cricket chanting its evening song, the primeval whale sporting in chilly seas or floating noiselessly in turbulent waters, in mountain crevice or sprawling meadow, the delicate beauty of color-stained flower or fragile leaf, high beyond the timberline, the sprig of green dares wind and snow. In the barren parchness of desert waste, the juiceless shrub and water-logged cactus, high in the treetop, the green-pearled fruit of olive mistletoe, and the soft gray stillness of creeping moss, the infant, the growing child, the stumbling adolescent, the young adult, the man full-blown or stooped with years, the tentacles of time give channel to each living thing. And beyond this, thoughts that move with grace of being, light thoughts that dance and sing, untouched by gloom or shadow or the dark, weighty thoughts that press down upon the road with tracks that blossom into dreams or shape themselves in plan and scheme. Thoughts that whisper, thoughts that shout, thoughts that wander without rest, seeking, seeking, always seeking. Thoughts that challenge, thoughts that soothe. The tentacles of time give channel to each living thing. Out from the house of life, all things come, and into it each returns again for rest. When I awake, I am still with thee. The idea that man is not alone is an ancient idea. It is not only rooted in what he thinks and believes or affirms about the meaning of life, but it is also rooted in his organism, in his very body. For man is a child of nature. And as a child of nature, he is a part of all of the automatic devices, using automatic in a very loose sense, or automatic devices by which his life is restored and maintained. The things that he uses to nourish his body, minerals, various things that come from the world outside of him, the way in which all of the intricate processes of his organism work together in creative harmony and creative synthesis, getting nourishment from matter, distilling out of matter the nourishment that it needs, and then dispensing with that which is useless. This grounding of the life of man in nature is a fundamental physiological assurance that man is not alone. He is not an isolated expression of life, but he is a part of the ebb and flow of life. He's a part of the respiration of existence in this sense, so that as a creature, man is not alone. He is not alone also because he is not cut off from those other people who have lived before him or who are living as a part of his contemporary world. The ideas of his mind, for instance, are not ideas that are born for the first time in his mind, but the ideas which he has come out of a vast continuum of ideas, thoughts that men through hundreds of years and hundreds of generations have been feeling and thinking, each man adding a tiny increment to what has gone before, so that in any idea that any man has, there is an affirmation of the continuity of all of man's conscious life. And even more intimately than this, whenever we find ourselves related primarily to other human beings, whenever we enter into a deliberate and conscious sense of relatedness with others, as expressed, for instance, in love or in our affection, whenever we do this, the thing that is meaningful to us is the fact that the isolation which we tend to sense and to feel sometimes is spurious. It is not rooted in fact, because literally we are a part of each other in terms of all levels of our consciousness, and I think at a level that is even more profound than this. For instance, when you try to communicate with a person whose language you do not understand, whose tongue, with whose tongue you are not familiar, so that the words that he says, the symbols that he uses to give expression to the ideas that are in his mind are symbols that bounce off your mind without grappling or taking hold anywhere. But nevertheless, there is a way by which you can enter into a sense of communion with this person. There is a sense of feeling tone, a certain kind of understanding that you gather from the look in his eyes or from the aspect of his countenance to which you are exposed. The same sort of thing happens to revert to the idea of how we are consciously related to each other. When you have a friend, for a long period in your relationship, all of your communication is across the board communication. Words, symbols, ideas, concepts, notions, these things you share. They're pooled together and you share them out of a common vat, as it were. And then there comes a time when words are unnecessary, when you sit in the presence of another person, and instead of communicating across this way, through the use of symbols, you seem to go down this way and come up inside the other person, so that even as you are yourself remaining, you feel his feeling, you think his thought, you become one with his understanding. Now, I think finally that there is a sense in which we also are not alone, because we are part of God, and this I believe. For in my thought, God is the creator of all existence and the creator of all the time space expressions of life, and therefore we as expressions of God's creation are expressive of him, and he's a part of us and we are part of him. And perhaps it is true that he can never be what he is destined to be in the world of his creation until we are what we ought to be. So the Hindu medieval mystic poet writes it using these words: I laugh when you say that a fish in the water is thirsty. Do you seek the real, the true? Go where you will, from Benares to Mathura. If you have not found your own soul, the world is unreal to you. Now this is the Hindu's way of saying that when a man has come to an awareness of that which is deepest in him, most central and fundamental, he has come into the presence of the God of life and the God of creation. When I awake, whatever may be my predicament, whatever may be the limitations or the distortions of my life, when I awake, I am still with thee, and I rejoice and give thanks that this is so. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.